hear me? Can you guys hear me? Oh, okay. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is President Echohawk, and today is March 23, 2023. The time is 5:20, and we are gathered here today to have our Pawnee Business Council regular meeting, and I'd like to call that meeting to order. And Dr. Evans, may I ask if you could offer our opening invocation, if you would, please, sir?
Thank you for that honor. Noah Tias, Tidawahat. Lord God, thank you for this day and everything you've given us. Forgive us of our sins and our shortcomings, and help us to have that faith, that belief in the greatness that is what we are and what we can be. Help us to have that as a goal. Help us to have that vision, to see that pathway to a brighter future. Please bless our people wherever they are across the world, especially those who are in the military, putting their lives on the line for us. We are warriors, and it's what we do. And help us always to keep that attitude in our heart. Thank you for these people, the blessings that they are for my life and for our people. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Dr. Evans, for that invocation. And I want to, at the outset, I want to thank Sky Goodfox and her helpers for providing this wonderful meal, chili and fry bread this evening. Very good. It keeps getting better and better. Thank you, Sky, for that. Secondly, I'd like to welcome all of our tribal members who are here this evening. Glad that you are here, and look forward to hearing from you this evening. We are going to have a open forum. We'll be adding it to the agenda here for our tribal members. And I want to thank all of our staff as well for being here with us tonight. I wanted the record to reflect that Sammy Kimball is traveling out of state, and so she's with us tonight up on the big screen virtually. And I also see that President Canuho and Treasurer Chapman is with us. They're with us virtually as well tonight. So with that, Mr. Secretary, may I ask if you would call the roll, please?
Walter Eckahawk.
Titaku.
Jordan Canuho. Here. George Gardapi here. Carol Chapman.
Here.
Cynthia Butler.
Here.
Donna Hare. Gene Evans.
Here.
Sammy Kimball.
Thank you, Council. We do have a quorum with all hands on deck. And with that, we need to approve our agenda. And I noticed that there are some number of revisions. Mr. Secretary, could you let us know what they are, please, sir?
Yes. So we need to add under new business, number 8, approval of resolution 2321, Pawnee Nation Supreme Court Justice Appointment, Mark Echohawk. That was number 8. Number 9 would be approval of resolution. Jamie, can you get that on the screen? Resolution 2322, Pawnee Nation Supreme Court Justice Appointment, Gregory Smith. And then number 10 is approval of resolution 2323, Housing Board Appointment, Carol Nettle. Number 11 is approval of resolution 2324, Housing Board Appointment, Douglas Gover Miller. And number 12 is approval of resolution 2325, Terror Commission Appointment, Brian Kirk. And I am under the understanding that there's also some budget resolutions that didn't quite make it here. Carol, do you have those available for us to add? Oh, okay. I didn't get that copy. Okay, so number 13 will be Budget Committee Recommendation A, approval of 1905 ARPA Language Program Budget Mod Number 1. 13B is approval of 1006-850 Princess Budget Mod Number 1. C is approval of 1006-850 Princess Budget Mod Number 2. And then finally, D is approval of 1006-850 Princess Budget Mod Number 3. And those are all the additions that I am aware of. Oh, where do we want to put that? We'll put, do we have anybody wanting to be on open forum that's currently present? If no objections, we can put that after number 12. We'll add section 7, open forum. Yeah.
Hey, you appeared. Well, I thought you were on the big screen.
And I will make that motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Thank you, council. We have a motion to approve the agenda and a second. Are there any discussion on the amended agenda, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote, if you would, please.
Jordan Canuho?
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman?
Yes.
Cynthia Butler?
Yes.
Donna Hare? Gene Evans?
Yes.
Sammy Kimball?
All right, motion carries, so we do have our budget, or excuse me, our agenda. And first up, our Pawnee Nation Business Council committee reports. And I would like to just start at the end of the table here with Dr. Evans, if I may, and have him present his report on your committee, Doc, if you would, and we'll just go through down the table here.
Let's see. Starting with Medical Advisory Committee, we've just had a difficult time meeting, and I think we're going to have to make some adjustments as we have many out-of-town folks who just have a hard time making that work for us and being able to get a quorum. So we have not met. In our Enrollment Committee, which Mr. Gardapi will say more about, but we did have our quarterly meeting just a couple of weeks ago, and I'll let him give most of that, but you know, the last two quarters, we have had less people born into the tribe, less people added to the tribe than people passing away and coming off of our roll. We are less. This time it was even, but overall, for the year, over three quarters now, we are significantly, we're moving the wrong direction. So just something I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Evans. Vice President Canuho, what are your committee reports, please, sir?
Currently nothing really to report for our committee. I chair the planning committee. We did meet a couple of times last month, just go over a couple of grants. Those were submitted with comments, but nothing on the forefront as far as anything coming up.
Thank you for that. And as to myself, I am an ex officio member of all of our committees, but I don't chair any of them. So I'm going to just pass the baton, if I could, to Secretary Gardapi for any reports that you might have this evening.
Yes, Enrollment Committee, we did meet March 8th. And we haven't actually been able to make it to the Nasharo Council meeting yet. So it's not ready to come to council level, but Dr. Evans is right. We had 6 approved in our committee and 6 people that are deceased now. So it is plateauing and starting to go for a downward trend. And that's everything that we talk about enrollment is our membership. So I'm glad that next constitutional reform update will be coming because we need to talk about membership. Also, Ag Committee, we did meet, and I did want to report that our cattle program has over 834 pounds of cured meat that they will be allocating for the next 3 dances: Spring Feast, Kick-A-Hockey Dance, and Memorial Day Dance. And then after that, there's still over 100 pounds of ground beef and some steaks in there. And as far as our greenhouse, Sunny reports that they've got they added a new vendor, and they're getting a lot more meat in, and they've discussed selling tomatoes through Wild Country Meats, because as we know that this greenhouse hopefully can self-sustain at some point, and that's the move we're moving towards. And they plan on planting tomato seeds next month, and we'll see how that goes. But anyway, that's all the report I wanted to give tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Cynthia, floor is yours.
Thank you. I'll start off with the Princess Committee. The Princess Committee has been working on making the selection of our new Pawnee Nation princess, and we have chosen a princess. We will be sending out a flyer for the princess coronation and dance that has been scheduled for April 23rd. It's on a Sunday. It's the day after the Kitka-Hockey dance. So invite everybody out to come and see the coronation for our new Pawnee tribal princess. And I'll tell you who she is. Her name is Karen Rice, and she is the daughter of Michelle Rice, the granddaughter of the late Ron and then Minnie Rice. So we're really excited for her being crowned as our new Pawnee Nation princess, and we're excited for the representation that she's going to bring to the Pawnee Nation. We're also happy with the representation that Miss Quinlan Spears has provided. She's grown so much in her position as a Pawnee Nation princess. I feel that she's represented us very well, and we're sorry to see her leave, but you know, she's going to do some great things. She's still got some years in high school and then off to college, so we look forward to being able to support her in any way we can through her educational efforts as well. Governing documents has not met in a couple of months, but we're still working on Constitution Convention and making planning for convention, and I will give an update on what convention has been working on so far. So we've taken a break these past couple of weeks, and our next meeting is actually going to be on April 1st. It is our convention floor meeting, and it's going to be an in-person meeting here at the Rome Chief Building. And there's some, I can't remember if we're going to live stream it or have the capabilities to live stream it, but we're going to do it just like we've been doing the other convention meetings. And what we are working on right now are the work groups. And we did have a community forum a couple of weeks ago, and there was discussion on the work groups, what the work groups are working on. There will be 2 more surveys that are coming out, one for the membership work group, and then the other one for the Nasharo Council work group. So those work groups wanted to bring forward a survey for tribal membership to kind of get more information on what they want to see in the revisions for those 2 articles. So they're going to be very important surveys that are going to come out. We want to try to get it out to everybody. We'll have it posted on the website, send it through a link through Facebook and other social media. So be looking out for that. The Nasharo Council is also continuing to have their meetings concerning membership. I know that Skeety Chief Beard put out a flyer that they are having theirs on Thursday at 5:30 at the Pawnee Nation Community Building. And so if you're Skeety and you have time to go to that meeting, please attend. I'm not for sure when or if the other bands are going to have their second meetings, because I know that there was requests to do that. And we'll let everybody know whenever that comes up, or the chiefs will let everybody know. And that's what the convention's working on, and that's what I've been doing with my committees. So that's all.
Thank you for that, Cynthia. Donna, floor is yours.
Noah, everybody. So I chair two committees. I chair the Property Committee and the Intergovernmental Affairs Committee. I'll start with the Property Committee. Tomorrow we meet, and we meet every once a month on the third Wednesday. I've got some committee members here in the audience today, so I'm glad to see them. We are on tomorrow. We're working on finalizing our lease agreement with the seed preservation and on building 1 on that lease. We're also meeting with or discussing the Pawnee Veterans Homecoming. They're still trying to move it out to the tribal reserve and making those arrangements. And then we're going to look at a land ethics plan, and we're also going to discuss the Heather Henson and hopefully talk with her on her land donation that she will be making to the Pawnee Nation, land in Nebraska. We're also going to have discussion on additional land plans that we may need, and we have discussion and or action on a rental agreement. There's going to be some changes to the rental agreement, and one of them is taking the charge for COVID off of the building rentals, that cleaning fee. I will go to the Intertribal Affairs Committee now, and I know this has been minimized by some, the importance, but it is a very important committee to control our external relations. And so we met today, this morning. I attended the United Indian Nations of Oklahoma meeting, and Chief Glenda Wallace welcomed everybody. And it was at the Indigo Sky Casino and Hotel and Conference Center. And she said that it's completely paid off now, and they're in the black. She was excited because all 3 Shawnee tribes were together, and they said that they hadn't met, those 3 tribes hadn't met in over 100 years until the gaming came about, and that brought them together. So she talked about how Oklahoma is the worst state for women, and how we come into the very bottom in a lot of areas like health, education, and employment. Is now a 501c3 status, and it has proved to be beneficial financially. And they can also do more. They can get out and lobby, and they can campaign where they couldn't under a 501c3. More tribes have joined, and there has been 4 events: the Warrior Up, the Candidate Forum at the First American Museum in Oklahoma City, and the 2 boarding school initiative events. Oklahoma had 83 Indian boarding schools in it, and that's what the tribes in Oklahoma want people to know. And NCAI, is supporting federal recognized tribes right now, because there are a lot of tribes out there that are trying to, or groups, not tribes, like hobbyist groups that are trying to become tribes. And there were 2 that were trying to bypass the federal recognition process, and they were talked about quite a bit today. It was stopped by the omnibus, and they were told to go the established route for recognition. We had our treasury report, and Bruce Pratt serves as our treasurer for UNO, and really proud of the work that he's doing. There are Larry Wright Jr. He is a Northern Ponca, and he is the NCAI executive director now, and they're really trying to build NCAI back up. They are really advocating for tribes to have boys and girls clubs, and there's not very many right now, but they're the conduit for funds to come through. So we have looked at that several times in the past. I'm hoping that maybe we could look at it again and see if it's something that we could participate in, because that would be good for our youth. There is one director position open at NCAI. It's for their environmental program. Okay, I shouldn't have said that. Don't tell Monty Matlock that. But anyway, that position's open, and They really lost a lot of membership during COVID, and they're really trying to gain it back, gain it again. They're trying to really gain the trust of all the tribes and all of their investors. And their goal is 300 tribes, membership of 300 tribes by November, and they feel that's kind of an aggressive goal. Pawnee Nation is a member of the National Congress of American Indians, and thank you, Council, for approving that membership. There is going to be there was a communication training that was held, and they had 40 in attendance, and it was, like I said, it was well attended. At the end of June, there's going to be an opportunity for a leadership training, and it's going to focus on strategic government. It's going to be at the Harvard Business School, and the enrollment's up to 80. It costs $2,500 for the week, and it's 1 week long. Let's see, but there is some possible financial aid available for that. So I would encourage any, and it's mainly like for council members, so I would encourage anybody that's interested to look into that and look into the scholarship. Their quarterly meeting is going to be in November. It's going to be in New Orleans, and they're going to elect officers again. Fawn Sharp was the lunchtime speaker, and she is termed out. She cannot run again, and so there'll be new leadership. But she's done a good job with in CAI. Chief Hoskins spoke today, and he talked about how they are trying to get the United States government to live up to the New Echota Treaty, in which it says that there shall be a delegate appointed to the House of Representatives when Congress makes provisions. And so his position on it was, well, Congress made provisions to move them immediately out of, their homeland, and so they should make provisions to do this, to make this seat available as well, because it says shall, Congress shall do that. There's one other tribe that has this, and it's the Delaware, and they have it where they have it in their treaty that they should have a representative in Congress, but they haven't pushed for it like Chief Hoskins has. And he's gone up to Washington. Allison Black, she was our former education director. She is the superintendent of the Sovereignty School in Oklahoma City, and she served on the Oklahoma Council for Indian Education. She talked about some bills, Senate Bill 863, directing the state ed to develop plans regarding funds provided by the federal government, requiring the submission of a report by a certain date and with information, and declaring it an emergency. The bill didn't make it out of the House, and she talked about how the charter for the Sovereignty School was dissolved, but canceled, and so under that Ryan Walters, but I need to learn more about that. Talked about House Bill 1775. That's where you're not supposed to, it's about, it's not critical race theory. You're not supposed to make people feel bad about the past, or that anybody is, I guess, better than anybody else. And so Osage Nation has asked that this be repealed, and yeah, so Oklahoma is basically following a lot of other states on looking at trying to take out diversity and culture out of education and the conversation. There's House Bill 1935, and there's House Bill 822, and it's that the 1935 would give parents $5,000 available. I believe that's in school vouchers. There's another one, 822. It's a voucher bill that would permit parents to tap a portion of the funding of the state for that would be, on their child's public school education. There's an analysis that 34 counties have private, have those type of schools that would qualify, and 3 of them, most of them are in 3 counties, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and I guess it would be the County Normans in Oklahoma City and Tulsa. And so there's also House Bill 299, it's Advisory Council on Indian Education. Only the governor can appoint, and there are a number of vacancies. He's sitting on appointments. So if you have any tribal members willing to serve, make sure they can show up at the meetings. That's why people are being removed from that board. And so Wilson Pipesim did a legislation update on United Indians of Oklahoma Legislative Summit. It's going to be coming up later. And then he talked about also Josh Brackeen being a representative in that part of the state, a member of the Freedom Caucus. And also question on how do we address the SCOTUS decisions. And he said that Mullen is a senator now. Mark Wayne Mullen is a senator now, and he wants to be helpful to tribes. He says he will be key. He's the only the only Indian on Senate. And he talked about an ongoing lack of distrust among the Republican members of Congress, and just talking about how do we engage during this time and deal with this new structure. So Von Sharp talked about the San Carlos Apache today, arguing in the Ninth Circuit on the Oak Flat case, and that's going on now. And she talked about how Oklahoma is the ground zero for tribal sovereignty, and that tribes have emerged stronger and have advanced more tribal sovereignty, achieving the scale of pairing and funding. It's a direct result of coming together and meeting. Nothing can stop tribal nations, including the pandemic, is what they were saying. When you take the strength and you look at the horizon of Indian country, it's exciting. She said that she doesn't know what's going to happen with SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States. And regardless of what they do, we are united to protect our sovereignty. So she talked about the success of for the tribes across the United States, and coming together to unify against the Brackeen and Castro cases. Now, the Brackeen case, that's dealing with Indian child welfare, where Texas said that it was racist law. And something that happened with the Brackeen case is we were told at the NCAI a few weeks ago that it was the attorneys from the pipeline at Standing Rock that went out and sought families out in this Brackeen case, and that they are actively attacking tribal sovereignty. And they're also, the same law firm also filed a suit in Washington State with Indian gaming. And so they said it's orchestrated, and that we need to be aware, and that we need to be fighting it. So they've talked about every generation has every generation of Indians have face these attacks, and the next generation of leaders is impactful, and they're growing up knowing their language, and and I've noticed that in working with the youth, is that we have a lot of hope for Indian country with our youth, because they're so engaged, a lot more so engaged into their culture, and really wanting to keep it, protect it. So Von Sharp will be at the United Nations, and she talked about the importance of participating in the United Nations. President Biden said that we need to be a leader in NCAI, put the State Department on notice that on what they are doing, that they really need to be living up to that, and that tribal leaders should be attending the United Nations. The next one was Ben Barnes, and he did the Indian School Project, and you guys are probably going to be glad to hear this, but I couldn't stay for the rest of the meeting, so that concludes my report. Oh, just one other thing. The next NCAI is going to be at Mystic Lake, and that's going to be in June. I can get the dates for anybody interested. It's going to focus on environmental.
Thank you, Donna. I just had one quick question to the council and also to Donna on the intergovernmental affairs. If I hear you correctly, there's still the issue with Oklahoma state law about outlawing the teaching in our public schools, what I take to be our indigenous history and our culture. And if that's the case, folks, I really have deep concerns about that because, you know, we have tribal members uptown, Cleveland, all throughout the state. And under state law, it's illegal to teach them about their culture. And you know, I'm deeply concerned about that because it's an effort to basically erase our identities from school. You know, and I know when I went to school from first grade, all the way through college, there was no such thing as Indian studies. You know. And anything I knew about my Pawnee culture had to come from my folks, you know. But and so I have been very concerned about that since I came into office, and I wonder if you all share that concern, because I just think it's a very valid. I cannot think of any other more overt assault on our culture and our history and our heritage than this legislation. It would deny our children the right to learn who they are and where they come from, and I really feel that the Pawnee Nation needs to take a position on this. And if you all agree with me, Council, I would ask that the Intergovernmental Affairs look into this and possibly develop a proposed position statement or a statement that could be issued by the Pawnee Nation on behalf of our children and our parents. So I just wanted to broach that. I think it's an ongoing problem. I think it's getting worse across the country and not better. And it seems to me that those who are concerned with education, whether it's at all levels, our Pawnee Nation College, OSU, where Donna teaches, and maybe she's teaching Indian culture illegally, for all I know. I'd hate to see Donna get arrested, you know. And so I think we need to develop a position paper and take a stand on it. I really do. And I think we would be remiss in not speaking out and trying to make our concerns known, you know. So I just wanted to throw that out to the group, you know, to see what you all think about that. Donna?
I would like a consensus of the council before I start the work on this.
I would be in support.
I am in support. I know you guys have probably heard me talk about this several times at this table, but I think it's about time that we do something about it. When it first came out, I wanted to do something about it, and it kind of sucks that another tribe went and did it before we could even, you know, put our 2 cents in there. But I think that I can't remember what the other Oklahoma House of Representatives gentleman name was, but he actually introduced a bill about a month ago to repeal this, to go against it. So there is other legislation that's on the floor in Oklahoma City that we just need to support it, in my opinion.
I would think we would want to try to weigh in on that. You know, if there's a effort to overturn that, it would be appropriate, I think, for us to try to weigh in on that. But folks, Vice President Doc Evans, what are your thoughts on that as well?
Honestly, I haven't even read the law. I don't know what it says. Have you guys read it? Have you read it? So I haven't read it. I guess I don't keep up with that portion of it. I mean, that's just out of my purview. I'd like to read it to know exactly what it all entails before going forward with anything with intergovernmental affairs. I think for me, this is kind of the thing I have with the educational system in and of itself, is that we depend solely on the state to educate our kids, when a lot of it's really, I mean, culture and tradition and everything else is brought up in the home. A lot of it's taught at home, and a lot of it's taught down by language by, you know, what we hear from our own people and everything else. I get the premise of it as far as what you know you're mentioning there, President, as far as just this adversarial attack against Native Americans, everything else. But sometimes I just kind of think you can learn that, you know, outside of, you know, this classroom and everything else, but I think it has more of the undertone of the racism that's there that I get from it. But I honestly haven't read it. I mean, I'd like to read it and see what exactly it says. I mean, it sounds to me like the rest of the council has read it and is read up on it, and that's good on their part. I just haven't really read it, so I guess that's really a no, I guess, at this point, just because I don't know what I'm agreeing to, I guess, in that sense.
Thank you for that, Vice President. And I think it would be good for Intergovernmental Affairs to give us kind of like a briefing paper, a copy of the laws that are out there, bills that are pending, and its recommendations together with a recommended position paper that we could consider. Doc?
You know, I think most of the states came out with a pretty aggressive, the ones that have passed these, a little bit more of an aggressive version of this. And I think our state legislature tried to make it more palatable by kind of changing the direction they went at it, which initially I thought maybe that was a good thing. You know, maybe they were, you know, not just going to say, you know, let's all be nice. But it's already been used in aggressive ways, and so clearly that is not what's really happening. It is an aggressive, attacking kind of legislation, and I think it is important, I think, for us to you know, if we say we have sovereignty and that we are a nation, we are a people, we've got to actually stand for something and make stands occasionally. So yes, I'm for at least making some statement to say that this is just something that doesn't need to be here in Oklahoma.
Thank you for that, Dr. Evans. And Carol and Sammy, do you guys have some advice and counsel on this as well?
President, this is Sammy. I would say that I would also like to read and get the information before I make a decision on anything. I'd like to just have the knowledge before I can decide. I appreciate everything that's been done for us. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Carol?
Yes, I also, I totally agree, you know, it's a very important issue, but I would like to also get some background material and read up on it first before we do anything.
Thank you for that, Carol. And also, since you're chairing the Education Committee, that might be an issue for the Education Committee to look into and weigh in on it, as well as Intergovernmental Affairs, you know. Donna?
I could just read a short part of it, which is kind of the gist. And I'm not saying you guys not to read this, because yeah, it's important to read, but just for everybody here so that they know what we're talking about. So it says, no teacher, administrator, or other employee of a school district, charter school, or virtual school shall require or make part of a course with the following concepts. One race or sex is inherently superior to another race or sex. An individual, by virtue of his or her race or sex, is inadvertently racist, sexist, or oppressive, whether conscientious or unconscientiously. An individual should be discriminated against or receive adverse treatment solely or partly because of his or her race or sex. Members of one race or sex cannot and should not attempt to treat others without respect to race or sex. An individual's moral character is necessarily determined by his or her sex or race only, an individual by virtue of his or her race or sex bears responsibility for actions committed in the past by other members of the same race or sex, and I think that's where the history comes into it. Any individual feels discomfort, guilt, anguish, or any other form of psychological distress on account of his or her race or sex. Meritocracy or traits such as hard work ethic are racist and sexist, or were created by members of a particular race to oppose members of another race. This actually was passed in June of 2021, and it was a Republican partisan bill, and it was passed as an emergency, so it went into effect right away.
Thank you for that, Donna. And so I would just add to my suggestion for the committee, you may want to even get a legal analysis on that language from the Attorney General or any other civil rights group that has looked at that issue, you know, and I think that legal analysis would also be helpful. There's some of that language seems to be somewhat vague to me, and if I were a law professor or a college professor such as Donna, and you're confronted with a vague language, you don't know whether or not you're going to be prosecuted or not, or what the line is, you know. And I've taught many classes in law school where I could probably go to jail, I think, under this language, you know. So that's really not a situation anyone should be in, our teachers as well as our children. So. So I think that both Intergovernmental Affairs and our own Education Committee ought to look into this, possibly the Pawnee Nation College as well. Okay, with that, before we move to our next agenda item, and thank you, Council, for your committee reports. Pardon me. Oh, I'm sorry, Carol and Sammy. Time for your reports. I'm sorry, I overlooked. So Carol and then Sammy, if you would, please. Yes.
That's what we've been spending all our time for the past few weeks, months here, is doing the budget and the budget call, balancing the budget. That's what we've been doing. We've had quite a few meetings on that, and I want to thank all the budget committees for all the time they devote to that. So it's really important work, and it takes a lot of time. So that's my main thing. And our Pawnee Nation was canceled in with death, that we'll be having that coming. That's all I have for today. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that, Carol. Sammy, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, President. I did attempt to have two meetings that I couldn't get a quorum for, so we're going to circle back around the wagons here next week and the following week to get those completed, and I'll report them. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Before we, thank you, ladies, I appreciate that, and thank you, Council. Before I move to the next agenda item, which is Pawnee Business Council travel requests, before our meeting began, I was notified by our executive director of some wonderful news that I'd like to share with you. Briefly, and I see that my niece is here, Susie Knife Chief, who is the Education Division Director. And I wanted the council and our tribal members that are here today to know that of all of the Indian tribes across the country, the Department of Interior has nominated our education program, our 477 program, to be to receive this year's Award of the Year. And this is a in the offing, and will probably be handed down here at the next meeting or conference, of the 477 program. But I want to congratulate Susie, for this acknowledgement. And I'm very confident that you're going to be receiving this very prestigious award for our Pawnee Nation 477 employment and training program. That helps our tribal citizens and other federally recognized members in our rural communities. And you are here, Susie, so I want to give you the floor, if I may. I know we're not prepared to do this, but if you could at least tell us just a little bit about this, and then I would appreciate it, because I think it's a very significant thing. And Jennifer and Geneva, I would like to make sure we have some appropriate coverage. Whenever we have an outstanding achievement on behalf of our nation, any of our employees, leaders of our government, it's a matter of great pride for all of us, and so I think we should try to give it appropriate coverage. And Susie, if you could tell us a little bit more about this, if you would, please.
Basically, out of the Department of Labor, there's Division for Workforce Development, and basically I'm nominated for, time efficient grant, how I pretty much delegated my grant and conversations that I have with my professional, my oil. I'm nominated for 296 pilots that are able to work in the program from New York to Alaska. And basically, my main goal when I came in was we were in COVID. So workforce was really low, morale was really low. So my main thing was to develop a program.
Actually, allow our develop skills.
Well, thank you very much for that. And good one. All right. Yes, that makes us all very proud. And thank you for your hard work for our nation. Okay, next agenda item is the Business Council travel requests. And who's going to be presenting on this item? Okay, Cynthia?
I'm not presenting, but I do have a travel request. I know that it was sent out early, but Sovereignty Symposium is going to be June 12th through the 14th. And I'd like to request to go again this year.
Thank you. And I would encourage most of the council to consider going to that as well, because it is the annual gathering of our Native attorneys and federal Indian law presenters. It's put on by the Oklahoma State Supreme Court. A lot of the tribal leaders across the state attend, and also on a national level, and I think it would be very educational. There'll be ample opportunities to schmooze and rub elbows, with our colleagues, other tribal leaders across the state as well. So Are there any other tribal travel requests, folks? Jennifer, I see your hand is up.
Yes, I would also like to attend the Sovereignty Symposium if approved.
Okay, and then Sammy has expressed an interest as well. Did I see a hand up? Jamie, was your hand up? Okay, yes, by all means. Donna?
I had submitted that by email, so maybe I ought to wait till after May to submit my request since I'm up for reelection.
Tentatively, you can say tentatively.
But I want to go tentatively.
Okay, folks, any other travel requests? Anybody want to go anywhere?
I kind of want to go to the NCII, June 4th through the 9th in Prior Lake, Minnesota.
All right, okay. Yes, that'd be good. That'll be an eye-opening trip too, I think, you know. One of our leading gaming tribes, you know. The three-person council. Their tribal council is 3 people. Okay, any other travel requests? Do we decide on that here and now? Okay, so I'd like to have a motion to approve all of the requests. That's what I'm looking for here, folks.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second. This is Sammy.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor with a second. Any further discussion on this, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Jordan Canuho,
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Donna Hare,
Ahoy.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. So next item is new business, and the first item that is up here is approval of Resolution 23-14 IHS drive-through garage contract, and who is going to be presenting on that? Sure, go ahead.
Yes, this is the previous contract that we had last year with IHS. We put a halt to it, and now we are going forward with that according to doing bids. So once we do our bids, then we can move forward. But this is just agreeing that we are getting back with that contract. And we've been working with Chris on this, as well as talking periodically with Vice President with his guidance on how we can do our bidding.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but as I recall, I think that the council previously approved doing this, building this
Correct.
drive-through pharmacy, part of the pharmacy there.
This is a bundle program, a bundle project. So it would include not just the IHS drive-through, but also would include updating our court, our current court building, and then moving our district and Supreme Court into our COVID building, and then moving our enrollment offices or division into what is now our court. So it's several different projects bundled into one.
Oh, okay, okay. Excellent. And so, everything is in order, or what?
So now we're doing the bidding process.
Oh, we're just going to be bidding
Right.
on it? Oh, okay,
Correct.
okay. Okay, so you're looking for a resolution that would approve, well, this says a self-determination construction contract between the Pawnee Nation and the IHS, and it's got a contract
Oh, yeah.
number on it.
And so, correction, so we're not soliciting bids, IHS is.
And so we're bidding on this, or I'm
No, I'm
confused?
sorry, IHS is soliciting bids for this, but to do this, they have to have a resolution from our PBC saying that we are in agreement to doing this. I'm sorry?
Oh, part of the self-governance?
Right, it's part of the self-governance
Okay.
contract.
Okay, council, any questions?
President Cook, this is Sammy Kimball. I will,
I think is that you, Sammy?
it is, and I would like to make a motion to approve this resolution.
Thank you, Sammy, for your motion. I would just say, I think your volume is a little low, but we were able to catch that. Is there a second, council?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Secretary Gardapi. Any further discussion, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Jordan Canuho,
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Donna Hare,
Yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. So next up is discussion and/or action on museum board appointment. And here we have two appointments to make. There's two vacancies to fill on the museum board. And we have two resolutions that are in your packet. 23-15 is for appointing Sammy Kimball to the board. And the second one is Resolution 23-16, which would appoint Pat Leading Fox to the board. And under the bylaws, the museum bylaws, the directors are selected or appointed by PBC resolutions with terms to be noted on the resolution. And so we have, these are my recommendations, and I know that we had talked about that earlier with regard to Sammy, and she's agreed to serve on it. Subsequently, I talked with Chief Leading Fox about this as well, and he has agreed also to serve on the board. Now, I wanted to also mention here that Cynthia reminds me that normally we like to get letters of intent and resumes. But in this instance, since everybody on this body knows both Chief Leading Fox as well as Sammy, I did not feel a need to ask for their resume or letters of intent in this instance. My rationale for making this recommendation is that I am very convinced that Sammy, first of all, she's interested in serving on the museum board. She's volunteered to do that. I had laid that out on the table, for any of our other council members, and I think that she has the time available to render a good service for the museum board. She can be a good pipeline for our museum board directly to this body and provide a good linkage. Make sure that the goals of the council and the goals of the committee are aligned. And I know that she has the skill set to motivate people and get them rolling, getting them on the track, in their aspirations as our museum board. Furthermore, I went to Chief Leading Fox because he's one of our traditional culture bearers as the head chief of our nation. He takes part. He's not only rooted in the community, but he's an active participant and a leader in our cultural activities. And of course, this tribal museum is a cultural institution. And it makes eminent sense to me that one of the board members need to be a culture leader from our community on this board, and I can think of no finer candidate than Chief Leading Fox to serve in that capacity. And I think that would round out that museum board and put them on a good pathway going forward. So the first resolution that I had on this subject is 2314. and, or excuse me, 2315, with respect to appointing Sammy Kimball to serve on the Pawnee Nation Museum Board effective March 21, 2023, whose term would expire on March 21, 2026. So this would be a 3-year term. And I'm looking for a motion to approve or any discussion, council.
I'll make a motion to approve 2315.
I'll make a motion, President. I have
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Vice President Canujo, and I'll recognize Cynthia for you had a question.
Not a question, just discussion. I just don't feel comfortable with putting a council member on a commission. It reminds me of the whole situation that we had with the TDC board and a council member. Whenever it came to, getting the stipends and all this other stuff. And I'm not saying that Sammy's going to do anything malicious or wrong in that aspect, but I also don't want to set her up to be in a position similar to that. So there's my concern there on that one. And if the only concern with not appointing or reappointing the two that are interested in staying on the museum board, why don't we're the words of, I know I hear Carol say this all the time, we're the supreme governing body. We make our laws. We bring this legislation forward. Why don't we just take it out? It says, in the section that I'm talking about that we take out, it says no director may serve more than 2 consecutive terms. Well, why don't we just remove it so that people can continue on and do consecutive terms? And I'm not saying anything against who you're wanting to appoint. I'm just saying they're valuable people that have been on this board for 6 years that I think would love to continue to do the work that they're doing, continuing to see it follow through and to continue to kind of pave the way that they've been already paving to do that. And I think that if we can make a way and accommodations for everybody else, then why not this board? Just something to throw out there. I'm just saying, I don't want to set Sammy up for something that, could potentially come back to bite us later on. And it all reminds me of the whole TDC thing. Sorry.
Thank you for that. I guess my only comment to that would be I'm really a little bit head shy of making new laws on the fly.
And I'm not saying doing it now. I'm saying there's a process. We can always come back and bring this back to the table and go through that process. Well, actually, we're doing it for the ERC. You know what I mean? And I have comments on that too. But, in the APA, it does say that for any new rule, that, you give a 30-day comment period. To me, that right there is giving our tribal membership the option to talk about it, to say something about it. So if we're doing it for ERC and we're bringing it to the table without doing any kind of comment period or anything, then why not this? I'm just saying.
I do know the museum bylaws, they're in dire need of a thorough upgrade. And I think that that ought to be a project. I know it's a priority for the current remaining museum board for this year is to get these bylaws updated and upgraded. And so I'd like to see that done on a very thoughtful basis, to make sure that it meets their needs and is done in I think it deserves a comprehensive scrubbing and probably the purview of the Governing Documents Committee.
And
but of course, this is certainly up to the council. I'm just basically going on the existing law and the existing bylaws, that is, and there's 2 vacancies that need to be filled, and we've got 2 very fine, I think, candidates. Now, if the goal is to bring back the 2 board members, well, that could be done too down the road. I mean, they could get these bylaws over to the governing documents, get them scrubbed, updated, and then we could add in the increase the size of the board as well. Now, as to Sammy getting a stipend, I think that the bylaws, if my memory serves, do allow for that. But I've been on since I've been on board, they haven't had a budget. They have $0 as far as I know. And so nobody there is currently getting a stipend. Okay, Carol?
Okay. I would like to say that,
Can't hear you.
can you hear me? I would like to say that I would like to rescind.
Turn up your volume, please.
Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Carol, I can hear you.
Can anybody else hear me?
I think we're trying to turn up your volume a little bit, Carol.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Can we get her some volume, folks?
Well, you want to interpret for me? What I wanted to say was, I think the president gave excellent recommendation for the qualifications for two people to serve. And I would like to just go ahead and proceed and state my motion again to go forward with the two excellent candidates for all the qualifications stated.
I'm sorry, Carol, if you could start over, I apologize. We're having a difficulty with your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I've just heard half the meeting. There's something wrong with them. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But anyhow, I will restate it. I would like to go ahead with my motion and restate it. All of the recommendations that you gave were excellent, and the qualifications and their desire to run, and I just think they would both be excellent additions to go forward and not drag it out. So I would like to just my motion and to go forward.
Okay, well, I think we already have a motion on the floor. Is that correct? So I think we have a motion. I think it's on Sammy's motion here. So we have a motion, and we're looking for a second at this point.
President Eckhart, this is Sammy.
If you're interested in that, Carol.
Oh, Councilwoman Kimball.
Okay, Sammy, floor is yours.
President Eckhart, I did not make the motion. I'm abstaining from all of this.
Okay. Okay, so I think I'm looking for a second here. Or unless there's other discussion. George?
Yeah, I agree that, and as you said, that act needs to be worked on, those bylaws. And there's nothing against the candidates that you're bringing forward today, but I think that's a really good point. We should look at that. So with that, I would rather table it, but if we're going forward with this motion, then I'll be a no. So.
President Eckhart, I'll just make this real easy. I'm going to withdraw. Please withdraw my name from this. I don't need this. I'm half offended by it, so just remove this resolution and my name, please.
I think she just wanted you to rescind her name. I don't know.
I'm sorry, Sammy, I didn't catch that. Could you repeat, please? We have
Yes.
a low volume problem.
Yes, I would like to withdraw my name as a candidate since we have two council members that have a problem with it. Just withdraw my name and find somebody else to do it. I have a lot more integrity than worrying about a stipend. So you can go ahead and just take my name off the list. Thank you.
Okay, will do. Well, I think this more or less tables itself then, I think with respect to Sammy. We do have Pat though, and he doesn't have the same concern that Sammy had there. So I'd like to go ahead and would you mind if we retabled this on Sammy then, since she withdrew her candidacy?
I'll just withdraw my motion.
Okay. So we will go ahead and table that. So the next item then would be the motion or the resolution 2316 for Chief Leading Fox. Council, what are your wishes?
I would move that we approve Resolution 2316. And I would just say that I think Sammy would be fantastic on the board and really a needed injunction, I guess, or that's not the right word, but that I think she would be helpful there. But I just wanted to say that, and so anyways, but yes to Mr. Leading Fox. DeSoto.
Okay, thank you for that motion. And is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second for Chief Leading Fox. Any comment on this motion, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Jordan Canuho.
Yes.
George Gardepy, no. Carol Chapman.
Yes.
Cynthia Butler.
I'm going to vote no, but, and like I said, it's not because of who these candidates are, and I don't disagree that Sammy would not be a big push on this committee or commission, but this commission can also create committees, and that's in section 413. It's just like, if they need the help, they can form committees that can bring these people in, these type of expertise and experts in, to help them do things. That's what we make these laws for. But I just wanted to say that much. I'm not disagreeing that they would not be good at doing this, but just saying that we should probably give this commission time to make the revisions necessary that they need, and if they feel the need to take out that one provision, then please, they can do so.
Donna Hare.
Aho, yes.
Gene Evans.
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Okay, I guess motion carries, is that right? Okay, thank you, and congratulations, Chief Leading Fox, our newest board member here. If you have any acceptance speeches prepared, the floor would be yours, sir, but I appreciate your willingness to serve, and we'll try to see what we can do about getting this other seat filled here as soon as we're able, so that way you guys will be fully up to speed, and whenever the board does meet, if they want to start the process of amending their bylaws, they're certainly long overdue. So thank you for that.
President Eckhart.
Oh, yes.
I do want to make one more comment, and I'm sorry, guys, for being a stickler about these things. It's just that we have processes and we have procedures that we utilize. I don't say they're utilized for a reason that we know. You submit a letter of intent, you submit a resume so that we can see. We also do interviews for these. So just to bring them forward, and I've been using this word consistency for the past several council meetings because I begin to not see it happen. And I just want to say that it would be nice in the future that we be consistent with our appointments, we be consistent with how we handle the commissions, and we be consistent with asking the same thing of every single commissioner who wants to have or who has an interest to be on these commissions, because they're going to get paid to make these big decisions for a lot of the regulatory stuff that we're doing here at the nation. Some of them bring money in, some of them are going to bring more money in to do other things. So I think that we really need to look at that and make sure that we remember that consistency is going to be the key in moving forward with anything that we do. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Jamie? Oh, okay. Sammy, I see your hand is up. Floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, President Echohawk. I'm just a little bit dismayed that all this talk about the pushback on these appointments have been brought to council level when we all had the agenda items and we all had the resolutions in front
I'm
of us
sorry, I'm not
before
hearing
this
you.
was.
Folks, can we do something on her volume, please?
Is this better? Is this better? Okay, my point is that we've just chewed up these resolutions over the last 10 minutes, and my point is that if council had an issue with this, they should have brought it to before they were presented on the agenda. I am not going to serve on something that somebody thinks that I might want to take a stipend, honestly.
Yes, I kind of agree with that, Sammy, and I did send this, I sent an email to everybody, didn't get any feedback, on any concerns, so I'm a little bit at a loss here, I try to communicate with you all, and if you got concerns, let me know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to communicate.
Yeah.
And this is the communication
and
that
I
we're
appreciate
having
that,
at the
President
council
Echohawk.
level as well. A lot of concerns are brought to this table, just like it's being brought tonight.
I appreciate
So I'm just saying,
President Echohawk. Thank you
that's
very
why
much.
they were brought.
Okay, next item is Resolution 23-20. And this again was brought to everyone's attention last week in an email from the president. And it concerns a proposed amendment to the Natural Resources Protection Act. And what I'm wanting to do here, the act it establishes this Environmental Regulatory Commission, and it gives it all kinds of authority in terms of the administration of our environmental laws and policies under Title 12, we currently are needing to fill a vacancy on that Environmental Regulatory Commission. One of our commissioners' term has expired, and I wanted to fill it, but at the same time while I was at it, I wanted to go ahead and enlarge that board from a 3-member commission to a 5-member commission, and also to strengthen it in that fashion, and enlarge the criteria as well. From it says that the current statute says that 2 of the 3 have to be Pawnee citizens, and I would like to change that so it would to include descendants of Pawnees. And so that is what this proposed amendment would be. Since I came on board in the summer of 2020, I've spent a lot of time, my time as president, working to try to strengthen our environmental laws and policies. That is our legal framework for protecting the environment, and that includes a couple of pending lawsuits with EPA and the Department of Interior, wanting to protect their jurisdiction and just everything that they need, all of the tools that they need to go ahead and protect our environment here. And so this is part of that effort. I wanted to increase it because I had in mind enlarging it to a 5-member board of commissioners. Now this Environmental Regulatory Commission is kind of a quasi-adjudicatory body, that it adheres complaint enforcement proceedings. It has a policy role, an enforcement role. And I think a lot of the infrastructure work that we're going to be doing as far as wastewater disposal facilities, they have a role in regulating that as well. So I'm wanting to get, but this Environmental Regulatory Commission has not met since before the pandemic, before I came into office. But in talking this over with Monty, we think it's a very timely to get this board fully up to speed and fully functionable. And so I want to go ahead and fill this one vacancy and then add an additional 2. And in order to do that, I had these proposed amendments that are laid out here in this resolution. And under the act, the president is responsible for appointing commissioners, and the vacancies on the commission are also filled by the president with PBC consent. And so I thought I would bring that to your body in this next set of resolution. I've got 5, I'd like to make 3 appointments here to get this commission fully up to speed with a 5-member board of commissioners. And to do that, I need these resolutions that I've put together and sent around last week for you to take a look at. It's very simple. Let me just see if I can find it here. In the 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth whereas clause, it's got the language in there. It would be amending section 102B and G. And it would increase the number of the Board of Commissioners from currently it's 3 up to 5, where at least 3 members would be citizens of the Pawnee Nation or Pawnee descendants. And then in order to, the companion to that is G, where we would have to update the quorum number. Up to 3 commissioners would form the quorum. And so I'm looking for a, and also in the packet is a red line version, or I guess it's a blue line version of the 2 minor changes here to get this done. So with that, folks, if there's any questions, concerns, or comments, as I say, I sent this around last week to everyone.
I have some comments.
Okay, Cynthia?
My first question is that, you know, they're coming from a 3 to a 5 board. Does their budget allow for that increase?
I do not know the answer to that. I don't know if they're a salaried board or not.
They get a stipend, they're a commission.
Okay.
But that would be my main concern at the moment is if, you know, if Monty's okay with it and he agrees that the money's available, then I'd say yes, but.
Do you want to table it? Monty's not here tonight. He's traveling all week.
I would be comfortable in tabling it. And how much more busy are they going to be with a 5-member board? And why not just keep the 3? My only, and I read the resumes and everything, and I like the 2 that have the resumes on there. Like I said, my first question will be budget-wise. Do they have the money? Second, we'll just leave it at that. I'll make a motion to table so we can get at least that question answered.
Is there a motion? There's a motion to table, folks. Is there a second?
Unless our treasurer knows what's in their budget and what was approved for their budget in the 2023 budget.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, James.
Okay, folks, we have a motion and a second on the floor here. Any further discussion on the motion? Call for the vote, please, sir.
Jordan Canuho,
Yeah, or yes, sorry.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman,
Is this the table? Is that what I heard?
this is the table.
Yes, table.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Donna Hare,
Aho.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. Maybe we could just forward this over to the Governing Documents Committee, so if you guys are going to start meeting again, and you guys can carry this forward. I think that also moots my efforts here to get this board appointed, so I'm going to basically withdraw these motions at this time, and we can return to that whenever Governing Documents comes back to us with these proposed legislative changes here. So with that, brings us down to the graduation stole proposal, and who's going to present on that? Oh, okay. Susie, floor is yours.
Okay, so I have sent an email for the proposal of Stoll, and that's option one. And then I also did more digging because basically it's this time of year where parents are emailing me, calling me, asking me if there's cords, if there's stoles, if there's medallions that they can use to present Pawnee Nation while they're in the graduation ceremony. I can only do jurisdiction, that's my grant restriction. So basically, everybody within jurisdiction, yes, we can provide those stoles, medallions, or whatever. It started with the general program, and we're continuing it this day. The total cost is, well, I got a number from enrollment, and total cost for 144, approximately 144, is $9,072. So, I have to come to the roadblock. Tag office doesn't really carry patches up to 144. I'm limited on networking.
I don't, is it working? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm just, sorry. Okay, so the limitations for me is the tag office doesn't carry 144 patches. Who will make these stoles of 144? I've reached out to several people, they feel like I can do a handful, it's time consuming, it's a lot, and then the shipping, or the eagle feathers is my other concern. I did sign up for VIA to get loose feathers, but I'm still on the waiting list to receive those. So,
Okay, mic check, mic check. Just a little bit closer. Hate my voice on this.
I know. Okay, so basically there's three limitations for me: the patches, who can make 144, and then also the eagle feathers to be put on there. So so I started doing a little bit of research. I had a parent mention medallions. That seems to be the better fit because of the price, basically. For 144, they're $13.80 each for gold medallions. Pawnee Nation seal on there. $95 for the die charge of the Pawnee seal. With 144 outside of our jurisdiction, the total cost for that is $2,802. So I feel like this is the better route, labor-wise, time-wise, cost-efficiently. The medallions will be bigger than a regular medal, but a lot of organizations do medallions to honor them being in their organization. So I kind of want to emulate that, and I feel like that's the better route, but it's up to you all. I have options. that's $9,072. Then option 2 is medallion for $2,802. And I did send that to Jamie for the second option for you guys to review. But that's basically, I just want to kind of do my due diligence on presenting the stalls and medallion.
Thank you, Susie. Folks, any question? Cynthia?
Just, did this go through budget committee?
Okay, I did talk with Carol and James, and they said the donation line item would probably be most beneficial for this, and that's where Carol and James thought that's where it should come out, is the BBC donation line item. But I didn't go to budget committee per se, just because I had two options for. I wouldn't mind going that route either.
Oh, well, I only asked that because they would already probably know if it would have went through budget committee, they would be all like, hey, yes, we can use this, we found the funding to do it. And then we could have just approved it, but, and it's not your fault.
It was just through email, that's what we're doing and proposing, nothing in stone, but James Rice did say it would probably come out of the donation line item.
President, this is Carol. This is Carol. Can you hear me?
Carol's trying to talk, just let everybody know.
Okay, yes. I would like to say that I would like to thank Susie for getting that quote and switching the method. I thought that the medals or what not doing the stalls, she's very right on that. And when we discussed it, we thought it was very important that our Pawnee students have this, and we wanted to be able to give each and every one something, and that's why we were working on it, was because of how important our students who have gone on and acquired educations to have them to have a keepsake and to honor them. So what was the price again? 2,000 and what?
For the medallions, it's $2,802.
Yes, yes. So that's very doable, right, James? We had looked it up, right?
Yes, we did.
I would recommend we just go ahead and go with the medals. They're beautiful, and our students, our Pawnee students, will benefit, and it will honor them. So that's what I'd like to go ahead and recommend.
I would also mention that.
I would like to second that.
Okay.
Is that a motion, Carol?
I make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor with a second. Any further discussion, folks?
I just want to say that that's what I wanted to hear, is that there is money established that we can do that. That's the point that I was trying to get across. But I do have a question for you, because it says that you can do things for higher education. Are you guys have plans to do something for higher education students? Because I know there's a number of them who are getting ready to graduate college as well. And I'm not saying do something this year, but maybe next year or something like that for those students as well.
Right, I did reach out to the higher education scholarship recipients. They're all over the world, so I don't have jurisdiction on higher ed. I did reach out to all of them, asking them when their graduation date was, and I wanted to report in what you guys decide it was gold for medallion, and I'll take those and help as well as secondary education.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Donna?
Did you, Susie, did you say you had a problem finding people to do the sewing for it?
I don't know many people that sew.
Yeah.
Maybe if it gets out there to where we have like maybe 10 that can do 10.
Mm-hmm.
They're very tiny,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people do work, and so they can just do it on the side. The second problem would be tag offering the patches that we sew on there.
Oh,
They're
okay.
limited in that too.
Oh, that's one, okay.
Yeah, and then the feathers is another
Okay.
obstacle that I'm coming across.
Yeah.
The medallions would just be less stressful, a lot easier because yours is just right across the road and order them.
Yeah.
I'll take care of applications online, take care of all the distribution and all the labor that it entails.
Derringer's also does, for Center of Sovereign Nations, where I work at OSU, they do our, what do you call them? Stoles, yeah.
They do stoles?
They do stoles, and they do Pendletons. They do it with the Pendletons on it and everything, but
Okay.
they're,
I mean,
I don't know the
do more
cost.
research.
I
I
don't,
can do more
yeah,
research and
yeah. Do you know what your students want? I mean, do you know what they would prefer? If they would prefer a
when
stole
parents,
or?
reach out to me,
or parent?
they say three things. They say stoles, boards, or medallion. They have mentioned all three of them.
Do you think that the medallions would
I think it would be
please
beautiful,
everybody?
especially if we have it a little bit larger than regular medals, and you have the Pawnee deal on there. It'll be awesome. I think it would be great.
Okay.
And just to
thanks.
interject too, one of the concerns that Susie had was some of the schools do not allow stoles. So this way, all schools allow medallions.
Yeah, that was another obstacle too. The bigger schools, like Stillwater, for instance, they don't allow stoles, but they allow beads and feathers and caps. So they're opposite, and several other bigger schools are like that. So in order for everybody to participate in having something, I feel like that is probably better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the motion, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote, please, sir.
Jordan Canuho,
Yes.
George Gardner, yes. Carol Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Donna Hare,
Yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. Next up is discussion or action on City of Pawnee intergovernmental agreement. And who's going to present?
I guess I will go ahead and present on this. So with our Intergovernmental Affairs Committee, we have embarked upon getting intergovernmental agreements with our local governments. And so you're aware of this. It's been reported that we have it in place for the counties of Pawnee and Payne. And so we had this on the agenda with the city of Pawnee, but we kind of stepped back a little bit and after the building sale. And then, just to see how things are going to go, Chris brings us forward again. Chris McCrae with Transportation brings us forward so that we can have this agreement in place. And it's going to expand a little bit more than the bridges, and we want it to let me see, make sure it's expanding more. Anyway, it's the parties recognize that, the city and is a sovereign government, and the Pawnee Nation is a sovereign government. And so it's acknowledging that it's limited in labor, materials, funding, and equipment. And this is maintaining Pawnee streets and roads and city boundaries. I thought we were going to include more in this. I sent it around last week to be more inclusive so that we could address the issues we're working on, which would include the broadband, and there were other ones that we thought that we may need to go ahead, and then like the programs are that our health programs work with. So this one looks like it's limited in scope with the roads and the, unless I'm not reading far enough. Yeah. So I'm not sure what happened here. So if we want to approve this one tonight, this is just going to be the roads. If we want to expand it, we need to table it and add what we want to expand.
Council, if I may interject here, currently it only would apply to roads and bridges construction, and I would like to have some additional language in there that would broaden the scope of it. I don't know that we need to make an inclusive or a laundry list of priorities, but we got a lot of fish to fry with the city. And I would like to try to get something in place as part of our good neighbor policy. You know, if we're going to be going to Oklahoma City, you know, and possibly meeting with the governor, you know, it would be good to have this in place, you know, so we could say, you know, we have a good neighbor policy in place. We're working with our local subdivisions. I think that when it comes to economic development, in the SEDS plan, you know, there's a lot of collaboration to be had with the city as well as the county as well, and there could be solar and other entities. So I'd like to suggest that we go ahead and do this, but with the idea of including either some language that's kind of open-ended, you know, that would basically say, and other projects of mutual concern, a mutual common interest that would be mutually agreed upon by the parties, or something like that. Or we could even list a couple examples if we feel like we're that far along with the city, you know, where we want to add those in. If not, we could just have some open-ended language, you know, so it would not only be limited to roads and bridges construction, but any other mutually agreed upon joint project for the common good. And that way we would have that in place as a springboard for additional projects. And that would be my recommendation. Cynthia?
So this, if my mind serves me correctly, this is the same, almost the exact same as the county. It is the same, the one that we did with the county. So would we want to go back and revisit that one? We've already approved that, you know, they have more.
Yeah. No, not with the county. The county is only applying to roads and bridges, and by doing these intergovernment agreements, it strengthens us and, you know, gives us more leverage. So this with the city, we're engaged in more activities than that. So that's why we wanted to see about adding some of the language.
Okay, so your recommendation would be to go ahead and add that language to this one?
I guess
I also have
the
another
other
question.
options, Cynthia, would be just approve this as
Yeah.
is and limit it because it's ready to go, and then
Yeah.
we could always develop another one with other add-on projects, you know.
Okay. And I also have another question, because did we not get an easement agreement with the city for, what was it, water, sewer, maybe sewer?
Sewer line.
That
I
we
think.
tabled and sent back for fair market value?
Yeah.
And has that come back to this table yet? Do we know what or when that will be? Okay.
In that case, I think it might be premature to offer this because we're waiting on that back, so. We may want to table and, well, Chris was wanting this to,
We could do this as is, if it's
Okay.
roads and bridges and it's ready to go, and then any other, because we had talked about a case-by-case
yes,
approach anyway with the city, you know, so we could stick with that and do MOUs as maybe needed from time to time.
I'll make a motion to approve then.
I'll second.
Okay, folks, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I think this is a good thing. It furthers our good neighbor policy, and it's something that Chris wants. He's worked to put it into place, and I think all of the ducks are lined up for it, so it sounds like a good thing to me. Any other comments? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Jordan Canuho,
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman,
No.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Donna Hare,
yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
No. Thank you, council. Motion carries, and thank you, Donna, for your for presenting on that. Next item up is a discussion and/or action on white fox repatriation. And I guess I'll present on that, even though Jennifer could do that as well. I think many of us are familiar with the white fox matter. Since the early 1990s, the Pawnee Nation was put on notice that there were three Pawnees that went abroad to Sweden, and they were a performing group. And while they were in Sweden, White Fox took ill and passed away in Sweden there. He died of tuberculosis, I think it was. And at that time, White Eagle and Red Fox, they were with him, according to Herb. These were three brothers, Pawnee, that had traveled overseas, and they were performing different shows, of great interest to Europeans about our Pawnee people. So when White Fox died, White Eagle and Red Fox wanted to reclaim the body for reburial, but the authorities there refused to turn the body over to his two brothers. Instead, they retained the body and put it in a museum, a Swedish museum. They stripped him of his skin. They skinned his body and put it up on a kind of like a mantle display. And anyway, it was a very horrifying, repugnant travesty that what took place, with his remains and the way that they were treated. This was I believe it was in the 1880s or 1890s, I think, or maybe even as early as the 1870s. I'm not sure, but anyway, when the Pawnee Nation found out about it in the early 90s, our tribal leaders at that time were outraged, and they worked ever since then to get all of his remains back. They collaborated with some local Swedish people that did a lot of the investigation on the ground there in Sweden about that, and ultimately they were able I think it was the 2006 or 2007 to at least repatriate his skin, which was reinterred in the North Cemetery there, and I believe it was President Gover or President Howell at the time, since he was a Pawnee Scout veteran, got a United States veteran grave marker for him. But the only thing that was interred there was his skin. And so we continued to try to get research and asked. They said we can't find any of the other human remains, none of the bones or other body parts. And we had them look 2 or 3 times, but they were never able to find them. They did everything possible according to what they said, but they couldn't find any other body parts. And so the issue then came down to his clothes. The museum has retained a buckskin leggings, a buckskin war shirt, a necklace, moccasins, and other items of him, and they refused to return these personal items that belonged to White Fox to the tribe or to the family. And so that prompted a lawsuit where I believe it was Scott Seipolt was the attorney. His law firm, when he was at the Ackerman firm, took on a case pro bono without any charge and represented my uncle Roy Taylor as one of the White Fox descendants, and they sued Sweden for the return of his items and any human remains that they could find. That case was kicked out of court for, I believe it was lack of jurisdiction. And so this was like about 4 or 5 years ago. And so now we left things lie, but when Jennifer and I and Donna were in Washington, D.C., we had breakfast with Kevin Gover. And Kevin, of course, is with the Smithsonian Institution, And he's deeply interested, folks, in taking another run at the Swedish, at Sweden to repatriate his regalia. And so he had a proposed game plan about how he would go about doing that, involving the State Department and Pawnee Nation working with the White House, Department of Interior, and pursuing this on a negotiation standpoint with Sweden. Kevin says it would take over a year to get this done. In the meantime, Susan Feller, with the president of the Association of Tribal Archives, Libraries, and Museums, had been also deeply interested in the same issue, and the Biden administration has created an international repatriation task force that they've been working with. And as a part of that work, they're all familiar with this white fox thing, and they keep bringing it up again. Susan wants to move on it. She says she can get it done sooner through a negotiation effort, you know. And they've even had a preliminary talk with the museum, and the museum has now said they're willing to return all of his items if and only if it goes to our Pawnee Nation Museum rather than an individual. And apparently that was their sticking point. They didn't want to turn over these Indian clothes to an individual descendant. And so we were talking with Herb and our NAGPRA office, Marty, about, as well as Jennifer and I and Susan Feller. And we think that we've got kind of a plan together that I wanted to run by you just to see if the council is interested and supportive of taking another run at White Fox. And that would entail the NAGPRA office and the Cultural Resource Division maybe writing a letter to all of the White Fox descendants. And it would be not only the White Fox descendants, but Red Fox and White Eagle. Probably a couple hundred tribal tribal members that descend from those three that were over there. And saying, we want to take another run at retrieving this regalia here, but we understand it could only go to the museum, and maybe include a release form where the descendants would sign a release authorizing our Pawnee Nation Museum to be the steward or curator of these museums, you know, articles, you know. And Susan Feller thinks this could be done in fairly short order, and that possibly even before the homecoming powwow. That's what she's thinking, you know. And so anyway, before we went much further, I just wanted to brief you guys briefly about this. It's been a long-standing thing here, you know, and there's been a lot written about it. But I think that we have a pretty good pathway with minimal work on our part. It won't require any outside legal counsel, won't require any trips to Sweden. I think it'll basically require a letter by the president, possibly with letters of support from the White House and the State Department, the Smithsonian, and Department of Interior, which I think could pretty easily be done, you know. And I'd like to take another run at it because I think it would be a very good thing to do, and it would be a very powerful exhibit at the Pawnee Nation Museum, because there's a real powerful story behind those articles of clothing that could be told, you know. So that's sort of an update on this White Fox repatriation matter. And Jennifer, if you've got anything to add.
Yes, one thing, just to let people know, Susan Fuller also has funding available that would provide travel for Martha to go to Switzerland to do this. Also for funding for the museum for an exhibit. They would do everything, and the funding would be involved for that.
Yeah, so I don't think it would be of any cost. It would be just an investment, a little bit of my time, a little bit of Marty's time, getting some letters put together. You know, I think Chad would help us on the consent forms and dropping these letters in the mail and see what happens. So I think it would be my recommendation that we plow forward on this, you know, and as I told our little group there, that it would be a group effort. I can't do it all by myself, but I can do my part. You know, if everybody pitches in a little bit, I think we could get this done. So any questions or comments, folks? Just want to take your temperature on this. It might be something of interest of the intergovernmental affairs, since it would be an international repatriation as well, Donna. So would like to invite the committee to be a part of that initiative too.
This is something that, yes, Marshall Gover, President Gover, and President Elizabeth Blackow had worked on also. And so, yeah, it's been a long time coming. We need to complete it. It sounds like there's funding available. There's a lot of interest available. I mean, a lot of interest. And so I recommend that we pursue this. And I will make the motion to that effect.
I'll second.
Thank you, Donna, for your motion, and Cynthia for your second. Any further comments on the motion, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote, please, sir.
Jordan Canuho?
Yes.
George Gardepy, yes. Carol Chapman?
Yes.
Cynthia Butler?
Yes.
Donna Hare?
Aho.
Gene Evans?
Yes.
Sammy Kimball?
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Motion carries, and this brings us to our next item here, and that would be Resolution 23-21, Pawnee Nation Supreme Court Justice Appointment, Mark Echohawk. And who's going to present?
I will. So you're going to see two resolutions, one for Justice Echohawk and one for Justice Smith. Both of them, their term ends March 21st, and this is just to renew them. We have received letters of intent where they would like to do this, and it's just now finishing the process up.
President Echohawk.
Yes.
The only recommendation that I have for this, both of these resolutions, is that since they are reappointments, that we add reappointment of, and then I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2321. Oh, well, you can change it. Okay, renumbered 2317 for to the reappointment of Mark Echohawk.
I'll second.
Thank you for that motion, Cynthia, and thank you for your second, Councilman Evans. And any discussion on the motion, please?
Yes, how long have both of them served?
I believe 3 years?
I want to say this is be their third consecutive term.
Their third consecutive term consisting how long?
I know whenever I was in the executive office, when they first came on,
For what year? How long appointment?
they're 8-year appointments.
Oh, okay, okay. 8-year appointments?
So maybe
To
two.
the Supreme Court.
Yes.
This will be their third, so they will probably
third,
already
okay.
served. Yeah.
Okay.
We'd have to go back and see. That's a long time to remember.
Thank you for that. Any other comments, folks? Vice President? Is that you? Or are you? Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, call for the vote, please, sir.
Jordan Canuho?
Yes.
George Gardepy, yes. Carol Chapman?
Yes.
Cynthia Butler?
Yes.
Donna Hare?
Cockheat, no.
Gene Evans?
Yes.
Sammy Kimball?
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. Next motion is excuse me, resolution is 23-18. I guess it would be renumbered as 18. And that pertains to reappointing Gregory Smith as to his position on the High Court there. I thought he was our chief justice. Is
Chief
that correct?
Justice, yeah. Oh, they elect those.
Yeah. So looking for a motion to approve or any comment or questions.
I'll make a motion to approve 2318 for Gregory Smith, to reappoint Gregory Smith.
Yeah. 18. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Secretary. We have a motion and a second. Any comment on the motion? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Jordan Canugo,
Yes.
George Gardner, yes. Carol Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Donna Hare,
Cockate, no.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. So I want to congratulate both of these justices on their reappointment and move on now to the next item, number 10, approval of resolution 2323, which is now 2319, I believe. And that would pertain to Housing Authority appointment of Carol Nuttall. And who's going to present on that?
I will, Mr. President. So yes, this is the appointment, the next appointment. This is a reappointment for Carol Nuttall. She did submit interest in being reappointed, and she's done an excellent job on our housing board, and we're bringing that forward for approval tonight. And I will make a motion to approve Carol Nuttall to the housing board.
Is there a second? Is there
I'll second.
any comment on the motion? I'm assuming they were interviewed appropriately and got their letters of intent and all of the concerns that Cynthia? And background checks, okay. Any other comments or questions? Call for the vote, please, sir.
Jordan Canugo,
Yes.
George Gardner, yes. Carol Chapman,
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Donna Hare,
Aho, yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. And so this brings us to the next one is 23 I believe it's 19, renumbered as 19, Housing Board appointment of Douglas Gover Miller. 2320. Okay, thank you. And who's going to present on this one?
I will. Okay, President, we did have these open for quite some time. I believe November was supposed to be the appointment change, and we have had applications open since then, and he's the only applicant that we've had for our housing board other than the reappointment of Carol Nuttall. And moving forward, we have submitted this to the council, and I would like to change my vote on the last time to abstain, if I can do that.
Sure.
Okay. And that's all we want to say about Mr. Gover.
Well, I'd just like to make a comment. If you're going to abstain, you made the motion. And the only reason why he's abstaining is because he mentioned that this appointment was coming from the housing, which I don't think would be appropriate for him, being a housing employee, to have a motion and vote on it.
True. So can we redo that vote, Mr. President? These are good, though. These are I can learn too.
Okay, any other, where are we at? I lost the thread.
I was asking if we could go back to 2319 and redo the vote, redo the motion.
Oh, you want to go redo the
Yeah,
motion?
if I'm going to abstain, I made the motion.
Oh, okay. So we want to have a do-over? Okay, so we're back on 2019. Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to approve 23-19, and this is for Carol Nuttall.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you for that. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you for the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote, please, sir.
Jordan Canuho.
Yes.
George Gardapi abstains. Carol Chapman.
Yes.
Cynthia Butler.
Yes.
Donna Hare.
Aho, yes.
Gene Evans.
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. So now where are we? Are we on 2320? Okay, regarding Douglas Gover Miller. And do we have a motion? Looking for a motion, folks.
I'll make that a motion.
Thank you for that. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Thanks for that. Any further discussion on the motion, please? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Jordan Canuho.
Yes.
George Gardapi abstain. Carol Chapman.
Yes.
Cynthia Butler.
Yes.
Donna Hare.
Aho, yes.
Gene Evans.
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. Next item is approval of resolution 23 dash, oh gosh, I'm going to say 22, renumbered as 2021. Okay. And this is for appointment of Terrell Commission appointment for Mr. Brian Kirk. And who's going to present on that?
I'll present on this. This is Brian Kirk getting his, he submitted a letter of intent to be on the commission, and you see it in the packet. And do you have anything you'd like to add? No. This is for the Tarot Commission.
And this was one of the commissions that we asked to be re-advertised at the last time it was
times,
brought.
yes.
And nobody else has applied.
Nobody else has applied.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second.
Thank you for the motion and for the second. Any discussion on the motion, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote, please, sir.
Jordan Canuho.
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman. It says she's on hold. Cynthia Butler.
Yes.
Donna Hare.
Aho, yes.
Gene Evans.
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
No.
So I take it motion carries? Okay. Thank you for that, and congratulations, Mr. Kirk. Appreciate your interest and wish you all the best at your service here. Okay, folks. Well, that brings us down to the budget matters. We have A through D, I think. And the first one is...
President Echohawk,
Yes.
James is going to help me do those. I've just got the phone, and he's just do better because he's right there and got the document, so he's helping me out on those.
Okay, that would be fine.
All right.
Jamie has them listed on the deal. It's so the first one is the ARPA language program. They needed a modification for they had 2 language managers, and so they didn't fill the one. I think they're going to contract with him. So that position was taken out of the salary part, and those funds were placed in the supplies, non-capitalized equipment, and if I'm not mistaken, were some professional services as well. It's still the same amount, with just the funds removed due to the one position that was not filled.
Thank you for that. Folks, any questions on this budget mod?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you
If
for
there are no
that.
questions, President, I'll make the motion to pass.
We already have a motion. We are looking for a second, though, if you're interested in that.
Okay, I'll do that. Sorry, I have this phone. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, folks. Thanks, Carol. Any discussion on the motion, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Jordan Knuho?
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman?
Yes.
Cynthia Butler?
Yes.
Donna Hare?
Aho, yes.
Gene Evans?
Yes.
Sammy Kimball?
Yes.
Thank you, Sammy. Motion carries, folks. This brings us to the next item, Princess Budget Mod number 1. And who's going to present on that? James, I'll turn the floor back to you, sir, if I may.
Okay, this one was the Pawnee Nation Princess is not like the other revenue kind of thing. This is all donations and fundraising funds from 2022 that were left. So it is a carryover for Mod 1. And you're going to see that there's Mod 2 and Mod 3 for some 2023 funds that they have to include. So Mod 1 is from the 2022 carryover, which is at $6,101.
Thank you for that, sir. Folks, any questions of James? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you for that. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion, please? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Jordan Knuho?
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman?
Yes.
Cynthia Butler?
Yes.
Donna Hare?
Aho, yes.
Gene Evans?
Yes.
Sammy Kimball?
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. Next item is the Princess Budget Mod number 2. And James, what is that all about, please, sir?
That is a donation, and it was for $135, and they placed it in the supplies line item.
Excellent. Folks, any questions of James? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion, please.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Carol. We have a motion, and Cynthia for your second. Any discussion on the motion, folks? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Jordan Knuho?
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman?
Yes.
Cynthia Butler?
Yes.
Donna Hare?
Aho, yes.
Gene Evans?
Yes.
Sammy Kimball?
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. This brings us to Princess Budget Mod number 3. James, what is that about, please, sir?
That is also the fundraising for the $1,050.
Thank you for that. Any questions, council?
If no questions, I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, council. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, call for the vote, please, sir.
Jordan Knuho?
Yes.
George Gardapi, yes. Carol Chapman?
Yes.
Cynthia Butler?
Yes.
Donna Hare?
Aho, yes.
Gene Evans?
Yes.
Sammy Kimball?
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Motion carries. Okay, so that concludes our new business for this evening, and that brings us to our open forum. And I want to again welcome all of our tribal members who are here with us tonight. I see Deb Echohawk's hand is up. Recognize you, Deb.
Noah, I want you to imagine the 1960s. This was the time the boarding schools had been closed for a few years, 1957, and there was a family that moved into what we call the superintendent's building. There was the Chapmans. And Lottie Chapman, the mother of various Chapman kids, Vicki Chapman is the one that remembered her mother planting irises just beyond the cellar and around the tree. And she said she was making mud pies while her mother planted these irises. Okay, so the 1960s was a long time ago. Our town has loved irises, and we had a community member that became a renowned iris gardener, and had he was working at the high school, right? Mr. Mullins took real good care of the irises that he had. They even made some unique ones and had his class name the irises. What was kind of a sad story on his part was there was a few people that knew about his world-known irises right here in Pawnee, Oklahoma, and they wanted to get some of his irises and they found that he had passed. But what happened was they went bulldozed down the home, the garden. All the irises were gone. And there's none of those famous irises there. But a tribal member pointed out to us recently that the irises over there by the superintendent's building are crowded. They're starting to die in the middle, and they need to be taken care of. And so we're thankful for her comments, and we've gone out to harvest some of these to thin them out. And so we have some yellow irises for you to take home, plant, and cherish this springtime. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Moni, welcome.
And I just wanted to, a couple of comments there. Please come get some irises, have a bunch. And these are pretty old plants where you don't have to, they don't have to water them in for like 14 days and then they come back to peak. So we have a lot of these available. But shifting over, what I wanted to comment about was one of the things that, you know, when we were talking about these House bills, Senate bill that's called for. A couple of them have passed, and one of them being the Senate bill, the 429, Tribal Regalia School. And these have all passed at the floor level. And I know that they're in legislation right now. And another one was like HB 2115, the House Bill 2115. That was native culture that's taught in school. I'm sharing with these numbers with you all so you all can look them up. In State Senate Bill, this one's 863, y'all can look that one up. But it is Senate Bill 429, Tribal Regalia at our schools. House Bill 2115, native culture taught in schools. And then those are the ones that I wanted to speak on, because these are things that, you know, I have children that one's graduated, and, you know, we're all getting ready to see all the comments on Facebook about our Native kids being able to wear tribal regalia to their school. You know, some of these students they have to go to the school board level to fight, and so and I was glad to see, because I did a catering that they had up at the Capitol, and Allison Black was the one there that's leading the fight on this. Got a mighty team that worked with her, women that support her, and she's been working on this for several years. And I had had the opportunity, because she was trying to advocate, pull people in, and that was students as well. And I was, you know, Susie does a great job, and, you know, and I'm glad that all this is coming to the time, because we're coming at the time of graduation, but, you know, it's difficult for our kids to have to fight for this every year. Whether it's in our school board policies that Dr. Evans did on the school board. And so I'd like to see, you know, informing the committee that you are talking about committee to advocate for our children with our culture and teaching the culture, an accurate culture. Because my son is a sophomore, and he's learning about his culture. There's healing in our culture, and so, you know, he has expressed and learned the most of the culture through the Pawnee language class and the history of it. And to where, because that's what he doesn't want it like sugarcoated. They want the truth. Our children want to know the truth. I want to know the truth because I'm still learning it myself. And so these are just some of the things that I would challenge our council members to look at those a little bit further and build a team around that. Let's involve our children in on this, because it was an opportunity that day. There was, I was glad to see a lot of Native students there. I was sad to see that none of our Pawnee students were there. There was, and I'm not putting that back on lack of anybody doing their job. It was just disappointing to see that, because there were students there that were represented from other different schools through their Native American programs. And so that gives them an opportunity to, because they're allowed to go on the house floor and watch them to work in progress. And I hope that all of you all experience that, because that's a wonderful experience to know that private, to then know that into the government that we are somewhat competing with as sovereign nations. And so it's always good to know that aspect of it. And, you know, ideally, hopefully, next year all of our Pawnee students will be represented, and they can be taken there. And my son was able to go with me. He was excused as a excused absence because he was attending that, and she knew that I shared with her the issues that were on the floor for our Native culture. And so he was excused, and so, you know, I was glad to see that, but I would just challenge because I'd love to see, you know, at the Capitol, some of our Pawnee students up there, wherever a Pawnee flag that's up there. And President Eckelhoff, we need another, an updated Pawnee flag there. We have one with 6 arrows on it, and that's it. And it just looks bad. And so they need an updated flag, and they asked for one. I was glad to see. I was like, hey. And so those are the things that I have on mine. Just that our culture and I wanted to share that and bring it to the forefront to just advocate for our children going forward and their culture and us, because we're their culture. And they're the ones that are coming up after us. And we have a lot of irises here. Come get them. And if anybody is interested, and those that are watching online, if you're interested in having a garden plowed, you can contact Dave Eckelhoff, myself, the Pawnee Sea Preservation Society, because we have a gentleman, great worker that goes and helps us with the Jimmy, who plows the gardens that I know that he started on some. That's all I wanted to share. Thank you all.
Okay, Moni, thank you for that. And on your flag request, if you could huddle up with Jennifer on that, would be good. And you could put all of those irises in my pickup outside. Hey, China.
All right, just some quick notes. Yay, Heather Hinson's coming to town tomorrow, and I want to thank Jimmy Justice for opening up the campground for her and her little mini RV. She'll be here all week. And a lot of us will get to visit with her tomorrow during our land use committee meeting. I am really thankful for Susie Nightkeep as well. I just wanted to say that I am so thankful that she put in her 477 grants for the new ones that they will be working with interns in Nebraska for the next 3 years. And so I love that partnership with doing that, and we are looking for interns to work and to learn a lot about our 20 gardens, our Pawnee gardens in Nebraska, plus taking care of the Henson land. And then a real nerdy footnote, tomorrow we are getting our DNA tested on our Pawnee corn. And we are so happy about that because it's been a long time coming. Remember, they were quoting us $2,000 a sample, and thank goodness for Kahita because she got that price down to zero. So anyway, good news, good things happening, and when you see Heather at the dance or something, be sure to shake her hand and welcome her to Pawnee. Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, so Debbie, President Echohawk had recommended that the communication be between the tribe and Heather, and so we've done that. And I want to thank Debbie for fostering that relationship, because a lot of what we build is based on relationships. And for y'all that don't know, Heather Henson is the daughter of Jim Henson of the Muppets, and she's been down here several times. She's very humble in the way that she introduced herself when we were all introducing herself. She just said, my parents were puppeteers, Jim, and I don't remember her mother's name, but she said that they started out using puppets to explain the Vietnam War to young children, and then it just grew from that. So we're excited to have Heather come down, and she plans to donate 550 acres to us in Nebraska. And so yeah, welcome her if you see her. She's a very nice person.
Thank you. Folks, are there any other tribal members here this evening that would like to address the council? I appreciate your patience. Jean K., and then we'll go to BK. Yes, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to mention one thing that during this your meeting that I observed, that some of the things that Cindy brought up concerning the appointment. The appointment on the grocery stand or at and that you waived they didn't have to provide their intent, that they wanted to be on the commission. There was a lot of other and I don't understand that, because we had some problems with our elders when we were going to vote tribal members that wanted to run for office, and there was a lot of things that went on there. People didn't even apply for the position they got in, and that was brought to the attention of a lot of people, but nothing was done. Cindy, I commend you for speaking out the way you did. If we can waive a lot of the requirements for people to be on these commissions, why not just say you don't have to provide anything, background check, anything, and see what you get. If you're going to do it for 2 or 3, might as well do it for all of them. used to be that way before I started working at the government. I got 35 years in federal retired. And I did a lot of things out in I did government contracts. I rewrote some of the contracts, some of the clauses that were put into effect. And, you know, I understand all that. And I know like a lot of people, you think we don't understand, but we do. And we see a lot of things. We learn a lot just to sit back. But that's just what I want to say about it. I'm glad you spoke up. I really am. Y'all get under that. But you went ahead and you did what you wanted to do, and that's okay. You know, we put you in to our council. And at least I know one thing. I know Cindy is trying to make it even for everybody. But it's, you know, it's not that way right now. And then one more thing. On our election, I read on Facebook that John Hogan wrote that they were supposed to put it out, public knowledge by in the newspaper some 60 days in advance and 22 days. So it's our tribal that's coming up with it. Going to be held when you didn't give people time enough to file for office. That is one thing, you know, I'd like to know. But thanks a lot for, you know, I enjoy because you know, I got a lot, I hear a lot. You know, we learn a lot. Maybe all of them are not them. I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for that, Gene Kay. And I'm assuming that the timelines for filing for the election and everything, it was done by the book, and in other words, was done in accordance with the Election Commission Act. But we will double check that and make sure that all of the dates that are laid out there are in accordance with our statute that we have on the books, and so we'll look at that. BK, welcome. Floor is yours.
You know, for the longest time, I have been asking for y'all to get a new stove down at the community house, in kind of a renovation of the kitchen. And that stove that they have down there now is just terrible. So we was wanting to know, you know, if there's any way that y'all could get another stove down there, an industrial stove. Because that has been down there a long time, and there's a lot of our tribal members that, you know, have their dinners and everything over there like that, but we do need a new stove over there.
Is this at the community house?
Yes.
Okay.
And if it could, you know, kind of be renovated, that kitchen a little bit, because it's just in like new sinks. But I have suggested that for about the last 3 years or so, and all they do is want to table it, you know. But I do think that we need a new little industrial stove down there.
Thank you. This is the first time I've heard of that, but I think you're right. We'll look into that, and I know that we're having problems with all of our stoves, you know, and keeping them in good repair, you know, throughout the reserve, you know. But we'll huddle up with Jimmy and take a good hard look at that for the community house. So thank you for that. appreciate.
Thank you.
President Egelhawk?
Yes.
I just wanted to mention, I pulled up the Election Act because I had heard that they were saying, made that comment. And it is 60 days, but it says publication of election notice, and this is reading it from the Election Act. At least 60 days prior to the date of an election of the Pawnee Business Council members, a public notice of the election will be made, and notices will be posted at the offices of the BIA agency, other sites as designated by the commission. So I think that that's what they're talking about, 60 days. So May 6th is the election day, and they probably went from that day back to make sure that that 60 days was being met. So I think that that's what, I don't think it was 22 days, but it's from the election date, which is May 6th.
Okay, folks, does that, are there any other comments? Annie? Did you want, I won't cut you off tonight. Well, we'll have to put her in our thoughts and prayers and well wishes. You know, I didn't even know she had broke a bone.
Oh my gosh, it was upstairs.
Really? Oh, God.
3 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah. Broke her arm, broke her wrist. Two different. And I think she's one of your most dedicated employees.
If not, she's way up at the top. That's for sure. She's way up there. I'll have to refer that to the budget committee. Well, thank you for being here. Mr. Allen, I want to welcome you to our meeting, and if you've got anything you want to address the council, you're most welcome, but I'm glad you're here and wanted to welcome you, sir. Okay. Okay, well, you're welcome here anytime, sir. I believe that takes care of our open forum. And that would bring us to the final item on our agenda here, which is finding our new meeting date, next meeting date. And I think, what did we decide to do, Council? First Tuesday, or is it a Wednesday? Tuesday. Okay, so the next meeting will be on April 4. What time do we want to do that? Same time? 4:30 dinner and 5 o'clock meeting. And then the third would be the 18th then. Same time as well, 4:30 with the 5 o'clock meeting start time. That would be the 18th would be the third Tuesday, and then the 4th is the first. 4th and the 18th. Okay, folks, so I'm looking at this point for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, wow, that was quick. Wow, the quickest. Call for the vote, please, sir.
All those in favor say aye. I'm just kidding. Jordan Canuho?
Yes.
George Gardner, yes. Carol Chapman?
Yes.
Cynthia Butler,
Yes.
Donna Hare,
Aho, yes.
Gene Evans,
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
All right, we are dismissed, folks. Everybody be safe and have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you. We'll see you on the 4th. Thank you so much.
7:57 p.m.
7 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock.